little finger. Unlike men, the diamonds linger. Men are mere mortals who are not worth going to your grave for.
Hello Bond fans and welcome to my latest 007 review. Today I review the 7th film in the James Bond film series, which is also the 6th and final movie to star Sean Connery as 007. Officially, Diamonds Are Forever! Directed by Guy Hamilton, released in 1971. So, Diamonds Are Forever. Well, before we begin, I think it's worthy to note that obviously the previous movie on Her Majesty's Secret Service, helmed by George Lazenby. He was the new James Bond, although he had quit after one movie due to some bad advice from his agent. The producers had to do everything they could to wrangle Sean Connery back into the series, even if it was just for one more movie. And sure enough, they did. What they did, essentially, was they offered Sean Connery a humongous amount of money, which he could not refuse. At the time, it would have been obscene. It was $1.25 million and 2 film projects of his choice. Sean Connery couldn't really say no to that. He'd had a 4-year hiatus from Bond, and he knew that the one with Lazenby was unsuccessful, so he said yes. So, the plot of Diamonds Are Forever is as follows. A diamond smuggling investigation leads James Bond to Las Vegas, where he uncovers an evil plot involving a rich business tycoon. And that is essentially the plot of Diamonds Are Forever. Diamonds Are Forever. Following the heels of On Her Majesty's Secret Service, this is a huge disappointment. I honestly don't know where to really begin with this one. I don't think this is an atrocious film, but it's pretty bad. I can't say that I enjoy this one very much. I understand there are certain people who would rate this as somewhat of a guilty pleasure, and that's fine. I mean, my friend Jack McCulloch really likes it, and I think Sam Harrison likes it. If I'm wrong, Sam, then please correct me below. I've never really been the biggest fan of Diamonds Are Forever. If you wanted a gritty revenge movie to follow On Her Majesty's Secret Service, prepare to be hugely disappointed. That opening sequence where Bond is going after Blofeld for the death of his wife is completely isolated and separate to the main body of the film. It's almost a bit pointless to really have it in there. You may as well have just ignored On Her Majesty's Secret Service entirely. And the way Blofeld is dispatched of in that opening scene is very anticlimactic, shall we say. So I think after On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which tried to take things a bit more seriously, this one tries to go back and be more outlandish, much like Goldfinger was, or You Only Live Twice. However, they go way too far. For me, what annoys me is the campiness of this movie. I mean, yeah, sure, Roger Moore's movies are kind of outlandish and kind of campy, but at least they knew their limits. This film is just... the campiness really takes over the movie. And I know this is trying just to be a fun movie, which I guess some people can appreciate, but I just can't. For me, this film is particularly dull. I didn't find the story that engaging, considering it's just about diamond smuggling. There wasn't really a lot going on that I was enjoying. The pace of this movie kind of drags in the middle, and I really couldn't get into it. I guess the first thing to say is Sean Connery. It is brilliant to have Sean Connery back. It's very nice to have him back for one more movie, and I really appreciate that the producers struggled to get him back, and they really did their utmost best to bring him back. However, because they had to pay him so much, it cheapens the look of the rest of the movie, and it shows. This movie doesn't look particularly glamorous or as stylish as the other movies, hence probably why they went to Las Vegas. It just comes off as kind of cheap, and even the action sequences do nothing for me. The only fight sequence I like is the one in the elevator. All the other action scenes are weightless and really add nothing to the film. Especially the climax in the oil rig, which is so disappointing beyond belief. It's over before it even begins. Like that. Literally. The Bond girls of this movie, not a big fan. Tiffany Case is a complete ditz, a complete bimbo, and just plain annoying. She's trying to be this feisty broad, so to speak, and who at first appears to have some kind of personality, and the way she tries to seduce Bond and any other men appear to be quite interesting. However, towards the end, they turn her into a complete bimbo, and she's just becomes completely ditzy, and I just didn't like her very much, to be honest. Jocelyn John gives a good performance, I just think it's a poorly written character. In the end of the film, she's constantly causing problems with the switching of the tapes, and there's that moment where she's like, I switched the tapes over, and then he's like, oh, you stripper twat, you put the real one back in. Yeah, she's attractive, I guess, and she rocks the bikini, but there isn't much of a character there. I mean, just after Tracy and On Her Majesty's Secret Service, it's just such a come down. And of course you've got Plenty O'Toole, and of course she is. Plenty O'Toole, played by Lana Wood, who basically doesn't do anything in the movie. There were scenes that were filmed with her that were cut out, which was sadly that they're not there anymore. She does meet a somewhat grisly death. She's without character, but she's nice to look at, I suppose. And of course we have Charles Gray as Blofeld. Yes, Charles Gray, who appeared in You Only Live Twice as Mr. Henderson. He now appears as Blofeld. I do like him in this role. What I don't like is the fact that he dresses in drag. See, this is where the tone of the movie for me is over the top. This movie has a campy tone that really infects it, and it just goes too far for me, to the point where it becomes completely silly, and I just can't take this movie seriously. Not that it was meant to be taken seriously, but I just can't accept this with any levity. So it's a shame about Charles Gray, really, because he could have done a lot more in this part. But for what he had, he was good. You've also got Jimmy Dean as Willard White, Bruce Cabot as Saxby, Norman Burton as Felix. He's pretty good, I suppose. He's quite good in the scenes he's in. You've also got these two henchmen, Mr. Wint and Mr. Kidd, and they're really annoying. Every time they finish a sentence, they go, Mr. Wint, Mr. Kidd. On a plane, there's a moment where Mr. Wint and Mr. Kidd are talking, and one of them says to the other, well, she's very attractive for a lady, which obviously implies that they are a gay couple, but not that that's an issue, but the characters themselves are just annoying. They're not in it too much, but they do annoy me a bit, how overt they are and how flamboyant they are. It doesn't feel right for a Sean Connery movie. This movie feels, people have said this before, this movie feels like it wasn't written for Sean Connery, but written for Roger Moore. The MI6 regulars are good, although Lois Maxwell gets really nothing to do in this movie as Moneypenny. She has that one moment with Bond when she hands him the passport, and that's it. The locations of Las Vegas are kind of cool, but we don't really go anywhere too extravagant or exotic. It really is just kind of there for most of the movie. As well, because they had to pay Sean Connery so much, that's probably the reason why. The moon buggy chase, which people talked about, I just don't really enjoy it. It didn't give me any excitement, any thrills, and I don't see what was so good about it, to be honest. And then you've got the mighty scene with Bambi and Thumper. Oh god. Again, it just goes too far. Just not only with the names, but they're just pointless characters. They don't add anything to the story. It's an excuse to have a fight scene, and it's an excuse for some cheap laughs, just because they're called Bambi and Thumper. It's the most pointless characters, and the way Bond apprehends them is so dumb. Dunk their heads underwater? What? That's it? Okay, fine. One of the good things I will say about this is at least Connery is giving a slightly more refreshed performance than he did in You Only Live Twice. Although he does look a little bit older, he's gained a tiny bit of weight. Only has been 4 years, but he gets away with it. Definitely goes back to his old magic that he used to have in Goldfinger. Sadly, this film is just such a huge disappointment. It's just a boring, over-the-top, campy movie, which can be enjoyed by some. I mean, some people find it fun. I just don't. I can't get into it. The John Barry score, I think, is one of the more disappointing ones. Most of the score is da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It just didn't really excite me that much. I mean, there are some nice moments of the Bond theme in there, but the overall score is not that good. What this movie does have going for it is the magnificent title song by Shirley Bassey, which is definitely one of the best Bond songs for me. Diamonds are forever. And that title sequence is very good as well. That title sequence works with the movie. I mean, obviously, diamonds, it's obvious what you can do with that in a title sequence, but it's definitely a great thing to behold. Sadly, this was how Connery was to leave the official series, and I just don't think it's a very good way to go out, really. This could quite possibly be my least favourite movie to star Sean Connery as Bond in the official series. Maybe at some point down the line I'll talk about Never Say Never Again, but in this instance, for these reviews, it doesn't count. I'm reviewing all the official movies before No Time to Die. I'll review the unofficial movies later down the line. So taking this as Sean Connery's final movie, it's a real blow. It's a disappointment. I just think Guy Hamilton kind of went too far in trying to make this movie funny. And to be honest, it's kind of cringy really, especially the Blofeld in drag. That's the worst bit. Hey, if you enjoy Diamonds Are Forever, that's fine by me. I just don't. I don't have a lot to say about it. It's not a film I would rush back to very much. It's not one of the best Bond movies ever for me. While I appreciate the fact that Sean Connery came back to the series for one more movie, I really am glad, because I don't think I could have sat through another performance of Lazenby. I do feel that this is not the best way for him to come back, although they did throw everything in the kitchen sink for him to come back. So I hope Sean was happy with the fact that he got to do 2 film projects of his choice, as well as coming back and doing this and being a bit more refreshed. So I guess I appreciate that. But overall, summing it up, I will have to give this film a 4 out of 10. Well, the thing is, Thunderball used to be my least favourite Connery movie. Thinking about it now, this movie probably is my least favourite Connery movie. At least, I mean, Thunderball, while yes, it's boring, for me at least has a consistent tone and a consistent style. The story is still boring, but this one is just as boring. This one's shorter than... It's 10 minutes shorter than Thunderball. That is it for the Sean Connery era. We are done with the Sean Connery reviews for this... Well, for the moment, unless I review Never Say Never Again. In the official series, I say thank you very much, Sean Connery, the original Bond. You defined it, you made it, and we appreciate you coming back. Thank you very much for this last outing. But now we move on to the third actor to play James Bond, Roger Moore. Sorry, Sir Roger Moore. So my next Bond review is going to be Live and Let Die, which is the first outing of the 7 Roger Moore films, so we're going to be on Roger Moore for quite some time, but looking forward to it. It's always nice to have a different change every so often. But anyway, that's my review of Diamonds Are Forever. Please comment down below what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? And if we disagree, can we just please be polite about it? I don't want any arguments. Thank you. So, until the Live and Let Die review, thank you all for watching, Bond fans, and I'm Mr. Tarnus11. See ya.